Welcome to the Wednesday, May 7th, 2014 meeting of the Finance Committee. If we had more than two people out here, I'd announce that if you have a cellular device, please turn it to the off or mute position as to not disrupt the conduct of the meeting, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. Madam Clerk, a roll call if you please.
Present are Marilyn Jordan, Joan Fonts, Tom Worthen, Bonnie Catulli, Marilyn Donahue, and Larry McDonald.
Okay. Anybody, thank you. Anybody here for citizens' participation? Okay.
Please turn the mics on.
My mic is on.
Okay.
Is everyone else's mics on?
My mic's on.
You told me to leave it at the table and you'd come to get me. Just before we get to town administrator report, I'll tell you that Derek is not going to be here tonight. Which I can't do much about. I mean, it was a family thing, and I understand that. So we have a couple different ways to proceed here. We can discuss the 2013 audit report, or we can wait and discuss it at our next meeting with Derek present. I'll let that be the vote of the committee, or not the vote, but the pleasure of the committee. Do you want to discuss it or get questions for him, or would you rather just wait until he's here? Yes.
I would like to have somebody from Powers and Sullivan here.
Somebody, okay. Interesting that you bring that up. They're working to get Powers and Sullivan in here before sometime probably towards the end of May or close to the beginning of June to have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen to discuss it.
This, to me, would be the best thing for anybody that's new on this committee to go through and understand platform. That's step one.
I agree. So do you want to just put it off until then? Because I think it's a lot better. And the good thing about that is the guy, I believe his name is Craig Peacock, has been here for every audit, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years. So he has a good foundation of where we've been and where we're going. And it's easier for him to talk to us about it. So I'm agreeing with you, Tom. So let's just put that off the agenda for tonight, and we'll save that. We do have the 2014 expenses versus budget. Did anybody have any questions on that? Did you look at it? I sent it to you in email.
Yes.
I've been busy. I'm sorry I didn't get.
That's okay. Well, this is going to be a quick meeting if nobody's looked at it. Do you want to hold that off?
I'd just like to make a comment. It was very impressive. This was something that we fought for years to get. Not only are we getting a printout of the accounts and the percentages, the over and under.
I'm sorry, when did you send that?
Do you have a copy of this?
No,
Here,
I mean,
get
if I,
this.
if
You
it's
pass
on
it
my
down.
email, I can
Monday,
get one.
Kelly
Yeah.
sent something
Well,
out.
just so you can look it over.
That's this one.
I did not
But with the
receive it.
management report, remember?
I barely got through this thing.
Yes,
And
I
it's in
didn't
a
get that.
language I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
And show him.
I was in my
I'm
email
sorry,
today. I got
No,
I
I
got
understand.
3 spam
you're right.
and a memo. That's all I got in my email.
Okay, then we'll just, well, you guys are really messing
No,
up
I
my
didn't get
idea of
it.
having.
This is what you're talking about,
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, that is what I'm talking
I
about.
did not receive that.
Yeah.
March, yes.
You can lift up the list.
Okay, no, you were on the list, I promise you. I'm positive.
Actually,
Okay.
there's not much variance from that than what he had already given us a verbal report on so that we could do the transfers for town meeting. I think that's pretty much what this is.
The one thing
backed
he
up for.
said is that, with the transfer, the police are right on budget now, with the transfer. That they're on budget now, which was one of the concerns that they were going over slightly. A lot of it has to do, again, with if you have 6 police officers out, you have to cover it with overtime. And there was a couple of other issues, but most of it was, it's in the report you've got a copy of now. He gave.
You got another copy of that? Or-
I don't need one. I mean, I got it all right here. No, I don't have one in front of me, but I can honestly tell you that the management letter that comes with it is pretty explanatory, and I agree, there probably are questions that need to be asked of the town administrator, but since not everybody, does everybody else have one? Jeff, you got one?
I had read it, you know, and I read it online. So that's the one you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about the expenses versus the budget through March of,
No, I'm sorry, I did not see
Okay.
that one. I thought you were discussing,
all right, people, we're gonna end up having to have another meeting, and I'm not prepared to have another meeting. Okay, so
well,
let's,
what do you feel needs to be addressed on it?
well, I think there's not really much to address, except for, one of the things, and this committee has been a proponent of getting information. I know that, Tom and I have even spoken about getting the information, and I said earlier that after town meeting, the first thing we do is this, and he did send it to us electronically so I could get it out, because we really do need to, as the committee goes forward, needs to concentrate on having a monthly review of the information and ask
Is
for
it through
questions.
April?
No, it's through March. You're
I
gonna
mean,
get,
here it is, the 7th of May.
okay.
When did the month close? Bang, the numbers ought to be there. I mean, that's.
I agree.
More of the things that I'm used to, I just.
But the difference is you're dealing with an antiquated accounting system, which is one of the reasons in the override you have the VADAR. They're talking about an accounting system. It's a database, and they have to take that information, they have to bring it over and put it into, if you look at these, are spreadsheets.
It's in Excel?
Yeah. So,
This is dated April 15th, so he composed this.
He
April
composed it on
15th,
April
Which would be
15th.
about right.
so you're, by May 15th, they'll have April.
I mean,
It's not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah.
We're not ever gonna get to that point until we have an accounting system that makes that possible. It's a lot of work right now, the way it is. So it's just not going to happen.
So that's a hand, that they get this out of the accounting system, and somebody just sits there and,
It's a database
Enters it?
system. Well, they have to take the financial reporting is what you're talking about versus an accounting system. The accounting system doesn't have a financial reporting piece, so they have to
Okay.
create that. And over time, that's something that we're trying to correct. Like one of the things on the override was the accounting system but for that to be created on April 15th and close at the end of March is a far cry from,
That's
and
pretty
I'll let
good.
Marilyn
Well,
speak
this
about that.
For years, we tried to get any kind of management report on current numbers. We wanted them quarterly. We would have taken them semi-annually, so to get them in this
when's the
kind of.
last one you had? When's the last time you had?
We had one in December?
Well, we had one.
We had one in December.
Yeah, he gave us one in December.
Yeah,
And
so
then we haven't had
Getting
one.
them quarterly is what we were aiming for, I think, on this committee.
We had one in December. We discussed
We
it.
went through?
Yes, we went through it. And I asked you guys if you had any questions at that time. The issue that I have, why we didn't have one after that, is because we were preparing for town meeting, and I just didn't want to break the
Yeah,
flow of
no,
that. But now that we're back off of town meeting, here we go. We're in May, we need to look at it. In June, it needs to be looked at. In July, it'll be looked at. I mean, the progression is we try. He gave us one before that as well. I mean, we're a far cry from where we need to be, and I'd like to see it come 2 days after closing, but I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon with what we have. But
That's a system issue.
I think to me it is more a system issue and a manpower. You don't have the manpower to do that as well.
You should be able to, yeah.
Tom,
punch a
quite
button.
honestly, I'm more concerned that Derek has these than that we get to see them. Because my concern for two town administrators was I would ask if they had it. Because it was kind of like, well, if you have it, how come we can't see it? And I never got an answer as to whether they had it, did they know? Because we're not doing the day-to-day management here. We're
No.
overseeing.
Numbers are Derek's spinach. I mean,
Right.
he,
So the fact that he has them makes me feel better. If he doesn't share them with us, we can ask for it sooner, but as long as he's on top of it, this is a great, and not only is he on top of it, but he's giving us an explanation as to what the variances are, why we're over, why we're under, what the expectations are.
a lot of this over-under is because of the way the cash flows, and they just take a 1/12, and that
A lot of
that
it.
thing has gotta
Exactly,
get changed.
I don't know that they're going to change that anytime soon too, because if you break this down into areas, different things happen at different times. And I agree that the 12th
Well,
is a
I mean,
bad
the
example.
simplest thing is to just take last year, use the percentage. I mean, you've got it on an Excel sheet. You can use those percentages, take the budget and throw them against those percentages, and you get the budget.
I don't know that
All
he's,
based on the prior year at least.
I don't think that that's going to change back in
No, I'm
that
just-
part. But in the front part where he does the thing, he has more detail into it. When he does the management letter, it has more detail into it, why it's that way. And I'm more important to me is when I look at the numbers on a 12th basis, and he says, well, wait a minute, during this time, we have more police officers. He has the information, It's just a matter of interpretation, is that a good word for it? Yes.
So I guess that's my question is what are we trying to get out of this? I mean, it doesn't make any sense that
To get a sense of where the town stands versus where it projected to stand
all right, so the management part
on
of
a
it.
monthly basis.
Okay, so the explanation on that, there are some accounts that are paid out 100% in the first quarter.
Okay,
Because the
so
bill
that-
comes
so
due.
the budget says, in the month of August, we pay 100% of this, and that's the budget. And so that's always.
I know what
that's
you're looking
always on
at,
the line.
you're looking at the
Can you say
format.
that? I
Yeah,
don't know if
no,
you can say that in
what,
the
what,
format, though.
but what he can do, and what I was trying to say is in the management letter, he explains that. That's more critical to me. I mean, if it says, well, damn, we spent all this money, sorry, I shouldn't use that language. We spent all this money in the first
Yeah.
quarter, why we spent that money? Well, in the report, it says, because we pay it all out in the first quarter. Then we have an
You know
explanation.
what I'm.
Yeah, I
you
know what you're
I'm
saying.
looking for.
I'm not sure you're ever gonna,
Changes a tough word for.
but at least my concern is,
government things to
right,
adjust.
my concern is that he understands the numbers because he's our town administrator. And if he understands them and can explain them to us, I'm good with that. So at least we have the reports, and now the reports make sense, and we know that he's using the reports. So that's a far cry from when I started. But again, we can talk about it tonight, or we can hold off and talk to
Yeah,
him.
no.
Because I want everybody to read it and have, because there are always good questions. Everybody always asks good questions on it. It's just more pertinent to ask them to him.
There's a meeting scheduled by the, whatever the Massachusetts group is of finance committee people
Yes.
in Marion, within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Go ahead, Marilyn, you know about, you got the
And
information.
the guy that's doing it is a guy named Tosti or something like that from Arlington.
Mhm.
He's been doing this for 20 or 30 years. He is excellent.
Mhm.
And the one thing I got from him from the one meeting I went to, of all these financial people got together, is he operates on a spreadsheet that's an 8 by 11, and all it has is the number of people in the department every month. He just tracks that.
Right.
And so he
Okay.
knows, that's how he can keep track of how things are trending. But he's a worthwhile guy to go here on this planning, I'm sure, because
I think everybody
he's
on the
very
finance
talented.
committee should go to one of these, just so you can get a better idea.
It's in Marion,
Marion,
Music
I
Hall.
believe it's the music hall, and next Thursday night, May 15th, but
Yeah,
I'm doing
we oughta
that from
be there.
memory, but we got an email about it, and I have that information.
So she can get it out to you if you want, if anybody's interested.
I sent it over to you, yeah. It's well worthwhile going to.
And this guy's particularly good.
Okay. So let's just hold off the expense versus the budget then. I mean, we've talked about how to create it, how we,
When you mention a management letter, we don't have any management letter from Derek yet.
That's what that first front page
the
is.
front page of the expenses is a management letter to explain the expenses.
It helps explain some of the ups and downs, or why things might be more than they would be, or less than they should be, at certain times. We've worked on this since my first year on the FinCom, to get an idea of what the year-to-date expenditures were. And the numbers don't mean a lot if you don't understand them, and, you know, the TA understands where they're projecting. So having this explanation on the front of why certain things are trending up and down is what they call a management letter. Okay. It just helps to explain some of those numbers to somebody who's not used to reading these spreadsheets back and forth.
And the big gap in it is that education is a one or two lines in that.
Right, yeah. It picks out the things that are troublesome, without us having to go through and looking at a number that probably mean nothing. But to the town administrator, it's an indication of something good, bad, or otherwise.
All right, again, anybody else before we move on to the next non-subject? The DOR report on the water pollution control facility, has everybody read through that? Any comments or questions on that we can address here without going to Derek? I have to be honest with you before we get started. I have to be honest with you, I expected this to be a lot more critical than it really was. It actually is a fairly good report, and there are some issues we have to address, but, yes, Mr.
The one thing on the water pollution control is that the expenses are more than revenue by $350,000. I mean, I would think that that would at least be a break-even situation where you look at your expenses versus revenue.
Which one are you looking at?
This, I just went through
Oh, the audit report. I'm
the
talking
audit
about
report.
this.
I know you are, but it's the same situation exists.
Well, that was a classification issue with that. The $350,000, I
Yeah.
believe that is a classification issue. I'll,
So the
again,
expenses and revenue balance?
they should.
I know.
Well, I don't have it in front of me. Hold on a minute.
It's page 14.
14? Where are you at? 14 I'm looking at.
It says expenses, charges for services, the first two lines. The expenses of $6,600,000, and the charges for services are $6,200,000. So there's a $400,000 difference there. It's the second line from the bottom.
Yeah, but I need to go back and find the other piece, because there's another piece to this. Because if you remember, if you look at the DOR report, there's another piece to this. Okay, we'll mark that down. I'll have to go back and, I don't want to spend our time looking for that right now, but I see what you're talking about. So we can do that. Okay. Any other comments on the water pollution control? Yes.
Well, I would really like Derek to come in and discuss this, and maybe even a guy with him,
I
so
think-
that we have a, you know,
I think what you're gonna have is Derek. This may be a little more top level than Guy. This is more Derek, or Mr. Foster even, for that matter.
Mr. Foster, that would be very good.
All right. So, you know what? We're just gonna have to have another meeting and go over this stuff. And again, I apologize. I didn't know he was not going to be here till later in the day, and I didn't want to cancel it at that point. And we had a couple things we have to do. All right. So let's just, if we shoot for like May 21st, give us a week off at least. You're not going to be here, I know. But we can still shoot for the 21st, and is everybody going to be available? No?
John will be gone.
That's two. Is everybody else available?
I will not be here.
On a week, 2 weeks from Wednesday, 2 weeks from today?
The next possible one after that is like June 18th. If you want to wait that long, we can certainly wait that long.
I'll be here on the 18th.
I'd go with the
You're not around
18th.
the
I'm moving
28th,
the
or the-
22nd. I'm
June
going.
18th?
Purpose.
Yeah,
Isn't the
Are you
the
back on the
override's the
20th?
17th?
we didn't get
I can be
anything
here
like
the
that. Did you
21st.
get
I
a
can't be
notice
here
that
the
we override?
Yeah, I just.
Got it from Bill.
Are you gonna be here the 18th?
Really?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Wareham Week's the only way to get good information.
Oh, my God.
Right there.
Okay.
We
So-
got it announced right there.
We'll talk about that in a minute. First off, if anybody knows of anyone, I'll announce it again. We're looking for 2 members of the Finance Committee. You can get an application either at the Selectman's office, online through the town website, or by writing FinCom, FINCOM, at wareham.ma.us. And we need that, would be nice before July 1st.
He's saying the 20th.
Mr. Whelan's talking about
Or June
applying, aren't
18th,
you?
yeah.
No, I guess not. Okay,
When is it? May?
town meeting discussion. Any thoughts or comments on town meeting?
Boy, the people thought you guys were walking on water.
No, you guys, you're part of the
No,
team.
no, come on.
Yeah, no, that's, and I wanted to say that too. You know, there was a lot of praise heaped towards the finance committee, and I gotta say, I'm no part of that, because,
Oh, stop.
no, because I'm just sitting here learning. You guys really pulled off a
Because
great.
Jeff, you never had to sit up there and be deer in the headlights by not being prepared ahead of time. I vowed I would not go through another town meeting going, what does that mean? Well, were we supposed to have that information ahead of time, which is why, and I very much appreciate, this is the first year that we actually were hands-on writing motions, and Joan and Bonnie were there and spot on, and understand what it's more complex. I always thought it was pretty easy, you know, you just take the warrant article and change it
say,
a
"I
little bit.
move." Yes.
And there's a lot more involved than that, so.
I wish I'd gotten up and said that Claire deserves some recognition for the effort that she puts in to make those things happen.
And the same thing, she has a binder and she goes through motion by
Right.
motion, and
There's a lot of
there's a
moving
lot of behind the
parts.
scenes stuff.
That's
on
why
it.
I always say before, we do most of our work before town meeting, because at that point, we're pretty much done. And that's the way town meeting went this year. It was,
Well,
Done.
the warrant had, because it had a glossary, it had all the information
That's
in
right.
it, then
Um,
it, oh,
But
Yay.
Kelly, thank you.
I don't think anybody gives credit where credit due sometime, but without Kelly, who kept us on track all year, who put together that giant mess of material that we handed her, thank you. And yes, you had as much to do with as anybody else. You helped with the motions, you helped with not with the motions, you helped with the advice, you helped with the glossary. Although I didn't agree with one of your, no, but the thing is,
who agrees with me on anything?
I agree with you a lot of times, you just don't know it.
Wareham Week agrees with you now, because
But I will tell you this, the committee as a whole did a great job, and I said it from the very beginning, the one thing that I shot for was to put as much information in that booklet so that 90% of the time, we didn't even have to stand up. We had, the questions that were asked were very well thought out questions, and they were answered quickly and efficiently.
Well, Derek is very good at responding with specifics.
Yes,
Before we were getting smoke.
yeah. So we had a good plan. I was, the only thing that surprised me was the Article 6, which is the balanced budget. There was one hold, and that was just to make a statement about the COA. Other than that, there was nothing said. And you could have knocked me over with a feather at that point. How about you, Bonnie?
By the time I got done what I was doing and got to go turn the station on the television, you guys were all done.
Yeah?
I'm like, they're on Article what? No, I didn't see anything, what? And they're telling me, oh, no, it was approved. I went, wow, that was quick, under an hour.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the way to put the booklet together. And I know that I say that now because I'm here, but when I'm not here, I would recommend using that method with the glossary and everything in there so that you don't have the questions.
There's still too much redundancy in the
presentation.
warrant.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if we could
because
clean
we-
that up,
I wish we
Because
could.
we used to not have explanations, so now we have explanations and recommendations. And I think if we, next year, I would recommend for future finance committees, we can clean that up. And if we have it, if it's in the book, we don't have to read it out loud necessarily. If someone speaks to the
I mean, you
article,
guys were good at
trying to figure out if
Sure.
it's already been
Yeah, I
said.
like that, the shortening up some of the explanations.
But
'cause
if it's
it
in the
was just a
book in the
recap.
long version, then we can just say we voted favorably, if it's non-contentious especially. I would like to ask discussion of this committee, if we are not on time constraints and we're here anyway, about the favorable action and the unfavorable action and the no action and the further study and.
Oh, my God.
'Cause
I was trying to get off this committee before that, but no, it needs to be done.
What do you mean?
In the pa-
Actually, I think Jeff had a comment on that. You and I have sat on lots of different, through lots of different chairs that have done it different ways, and a while back, we thought it was confusing, so we decided to make all the votes favorable, and then we could vote for favorable or against favorable. And that can be just as confusing.
both sides of this.
Well, there was, I can remember when I first came here, it was favorable action, no action, or indefinite postponement. And my understanding was, if you took no action, it wasn't a vote down. You were taking no action on the article whatsoever. Indefinite postponement meant that it could not be brought back to town meeting for a full year.
That's a motion, though.
But those are the town meeting motions. I'm just
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about our own committee votes.
We move favorable action on every article.
Right, that kind of came about with my sticking my feet in the ground and saying that, articles should be presented in the positive atmosphere that they were meant, or they were presented at, whether they are our articles or whether we agree with them one way or the other. They were part of our government, that's what they are, and they should be brought forward in the positive notion that they were presented at. If we do not agree with them, if we've done our study, we've done our thought process on it, and we don't agree with them, then by voting against favorable action, that's our answer to the public. But we felt that at that time, that to just shoot something down because we didn't like it right off the bat wasn't in the best interest of the town, okay? And that happened a lot in my first years here, where people did not like where something was going, and immediately, right out of the bat, it was a motion for no action. And that, to me, made everybody's work bringing that, to town meeting, it just made it meaningless as far as I was concerned. So, I mean, that was something I thought it made everything work a little better. People were more positive about what was going forward, that.
Should be like figure skating in the Olympics, for and against.
Right,
Here's the numbers.
Hold on.
yeah.
Well, I like the term, we vote in favor of an article, or we do not support the article.
Right.
I mean, it's really, I think the goal is not whether we're trying to, put out a karma to the meeting. We're trying to tell them what we think. And I think sometimes that, when you do that, we voted favorable action 1 to 4 to 5. I think that's confusing. I think they hear the word favorable, and it's just to say, no, we didn't vote in favor of it, and just say it, we didn't support it.
Do you feel, anyone here feel that reading the actual vote, because under the system we have now, you have to read the vote to get the full flavor of it. But if you went with something that says the Finance Committee does not support this article, the Finance Committee advises favorable action, advises not to, advises I don't know, whatever it would be, unfavorable action on this, which is a much simpler process, but we wouldn't have to read the vote. Does that make sense? We wouldn't, the vote's in the book. People can look at the vote.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to read the vote, yeah.
But then you're going to read the advice, or at least a piece of the advice. So it's the simplest way. And I always thought, this year I try to bring it up, but I thought it's a bad time to do it, is the statement should be the Finance Committee advises favorable action, or the Finance Committee advises non-support of this article. This is a silly article. Now, you can't really say that, but.
Why can't you say approval and disapproval?
No.
It's a lot simpler.
Well, you have to, it's an action, so it has to be either an unfavorable or a favorable action. So the background is the Finance Committee advises favorable action. The Finance Committee advises unfavorable action.
The
You don't
Finance
have to
Committee
read the vote.
recommends approval of this article or disapproval of this article.
Well, I mean,
It's a
that's
lot
something,
simpler.
that's
Well,
something
that's
to the.
simpler, but you're rewriting
You
the
don't-
procedure that they've gotten
Well,
used
maybe
to
it
for
needs to be
years.
rewritten because it confuses people.
I would do what
This is a
somebody
confusing
did to me and
conversation,
hand
so.
you a book of, a copy of town meeting times and say, enjoy yourself, because that is what they are used to, and you will never get them to change that.
I think this conversation needs,
Who's used to?
This is a tradition that's been going on for hundreds of years here, and this is the way they've done it.
Well, just because that's the way they've done it doesn't mean it's the
Interesting.
correct
We
way.
cannot get to perfect.
Okay, hold on. The simple explanation is this conversation needs to include the town moderator.
Right.
The one recommendation I would have is, rather than wait for the selectmen to say what they did and the finance committee to say what they did, is when the thing gets read, the votes on this were, selectmen, blah, blah, blah.
I don't think you
One
even need
person
to do
does that
that.
whole thing, rather than him looking for the mic and you looking for the mic.
Yeah, I think this,
It saves time.
this is a conversation, thanks Marilyn, that requires the town moderator, because it's essentially, she is running the meeting, so
Right.
we need to work within certain confines. And she does run it using town meeting time
Yes.
and Robert's Rules of Order and experience. So we have to have this conversation with her. But my thought process, and I almost did it this year, but I just couldn't. We did so many changes to this thing. I didn't want to make it any worse. Is our statement should be simple. The Finance Committee advises.
Right.
Favorable action. Finance Committee advises unfavorable action or no action. That way, it's a simple thing. We don't even have to read the vote. Because we were going to read the advice, and the flavor of that advice tells you how we voted, and people can read it in the book.
Right.
You know, we had people reading, honest to God, this is
Yeah, but don't forget, if you've got a 4-4, one of them we had a split on. So they're looking and saying, well, what does that mean, and that mean? Because I had someone
that's
ask.
in the book.
It's in the book, but it doesn't say on every single page after every single article, this is, the first vote is favorable, the second vote is not favorable, and the last one is abstention.
If it's a split article like that, if it's 8-1, no, you're right, you're correct. But if it's 4-1 or 4-4 or something like that, we did have one where there were people that were in favor of it and people that were not, and
Right.
it did express both sides of that. That's the pros and cons, and that's why we've asked people to write them. When they're close like that, I agree, it has to be something that expresses both sides so people have the full understanding. And when Madam Moderator said this item is located wherever, you could hear the books flipping in the audience. So people are using them correctly. I just don't, I think it could go faster. We can cut out 45 minutes by not having some of the more traditional things like, you know, that are going on being done. But again, that's a conversation we have with the moderator.
Yep.
I think it's, Melanie is
Thanks.
right in the point that, if somebody who's new to town meeting who hasn't, you know, I mean, it took me forever to figure out what they were talking about. 010, really? I have no idea. But if we talk in plain English and just say, the vote was, you know, 4-0-0, 4 in favor, or if it's a split, that's what we should say. For those that just don't get it, and you want to encourage people to start coming to town meeting, to get involved, and when they don't understand what's going on, it's frustrating. It definitely is frustrating.
Yeah, and that's why I believe part of the reason they changed everything to favorable
Yeah,
action was
was
because people were
consistency.
going, wait a minute, that was an unfavorable or a favorable action. So they made it all one, and then they made their votes according to that favorable action. So, again, I agree, but I would like for ours to read the Finance Committee advises. Because, you know, the Finance Committee advises favorable action makes a lot more sense to me because that's our job as a Finance Committee.
Well, in my first years, there was a different frame of thought too with the motions too, because the FinCom actually wrote the motions, and if they shot down an article, they would move immediately, no action, or they would move indefinite exposure right from the get-go.
Okay.
And that, to me, was just a slap in the face to the people who brought that process forward.
Yeah,
Okay, we are an advisory board, but we don't get to make that policy.
actually, we have the right to First Amendment.
We do, we have the right
So
to
we-
First Amendment.
So we should have read that and then
We
made that
recommend.
amendment.
We're
Yeah.
not telling you
So,
to do it.
that's
We're
just
not
people
advising
following
you, we
rules.
recommend.
Okay, any other comments on town meeting, anybody else?
No.
I want to thank everybody, honest to God. Kelly says they've met a lot more at some point in time in the past, but that's because they didn't have computers. But we have computers, and we still met more than any other finance committee, and I appreciate all the hard work and knowledge that everybody's put into this, because we have, in my opinion, I don't know how everyone feels, and then there are some people out there that probably feel different, that we have gained a level of credibility that's deserved on this committee. So, thank you. All right, we got, I need a motion to approve invoice 14-0279 from Gateway Printing, the printing of the annual town meeting warrant in the amount of $729, because Kelly couldn't negotiate it down any further.
Anything else that you know.
So
would
moved.
be
Second.
Next.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 700.
Did we, curious, did we budget that? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's in the budget.
That was favorable action.
That's the only thing we get you paid for.
It's in both budgets, actually, you know? So-
He's the wise guy.
So we still have that, but that's just enough to get us by. I mean, would that be correct, Kelly? That's about enough to get us by. It's not very much money out there. So if we went full color with a picture of Wareham on the front, I don't think we could pull it off. But that's something that I would consider later down. I also have meeting minutes from April 2nd, so I'll entertain a motion for approve the minutes of April 2nd, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained, 7-0-0. Everybody read April 9th? What?
Move for,
All right, we got a motion. Yeah. Need a second.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? You, okay. I thought you were opposing. Okay, so 6-0-1. And then April 16th, day after tax day. I need a motion.
move to approve the minutes of April 16th.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, got a second? Got a second from Joan. She beat you. She did the hand up thing. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? 7-0-0. Other business. Tomorrow, the audit committee is meeting. We haven't met. We were going to meet before town meeting, but we put it off till right after town meeting because obviously we had a lot going on with town meeting. So we'll meet tomorrow. We'll come back to this, our chairman, which is not me, it's Bill Haney, we'll come back to the Board of Selectmen with our recommendation. And I don't think people really understand.
I was gonna ask you, who's on that committee and what is the purpose of it?
Well, it started out with a member from the Board of Selectmen, a member from the Finance Committee, and a chairman, a citizen at large, which was Mr. Slavin, myself, and Mr. Haney. And I believe it's expanded to Mr. Sullivan. No, it has not expanded. Please come up and talk.
No, the town administrator can't be.
Well, he's there to view, I'm sorry, but it has been expanded, has it not? We have not added any of the new members that we talked about? Okay, well, that's the committee. And just for the record, the purpose of the audit committee is to review the auditor's management letter and monitor progress in resolving identified issues. The town administrator, working with the finance officers, would be expected to formulate a corrective action plan and be primarily responsible for its execution. Simply stated, we sit down, we look at the management letter, we send our recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, who then the town administrator acts on it. That's as simple as that. That's our responsibility. I know it sounds like a lot, but also, as of June 30th, we are going to need a representative from the Finance Committee on the Audit Committee, because my term is expiring. So something to consider, we need a member to, and we meet 6 months, maybe every 6 months, more or less, except for during the year that we have the RFP for the auditors, to hire the auditors, or to go out to bid. Other than that, it only meets every 6 months. So if anybody's interested, let me know. Nobody's interested. Tom's interested, right?
No, I don't. I mean, I couldn't add any value. I would just they'd throw me out.
Well, we'll see.
We let you stick around, Tom, come on.
Well, it's come close though.
No. All right. Because we didn't accomplish a whole lot tonight, other than the fact that Marilyn, because of our great work at town meeting, made red velvet whoopie pie.
No, those are for your birthday. Old guy.
So we're going to eat whoopie pies in just a moment, which means we need to end this meeting quickly.
Wait a minute, do we
When are we
decide on
gonna
the
meet
next
again?
meeting time?
That's what we're doing. Boy, you guys are pushy.
Just, you know.
So
look
the
at my calendar.
21st of May is out, correct? That's pretty, all right, how about the 28th?
I can't do the 28th, Joan can't do the I can do the 21st.
You know, we don't have to wait to June 18th to meet. I was just gonna meet because that's the day after the vote. And if you wanna meet before then, that's fine. The next meeting we have in June, we will elect officers, new officers. And hopefully we'll have some new applications for members as well. And that will probably be our last meeting in June. until the new board forms in July.
Sorry,
Yes.
just thinking. We are losing 3 members or 2 members?
We're only losing 2 because I think Tom's coming back.
No, I'm not coming back.
Okay, we're losing 3 members. Are you staying, Meryl?
No, as a matter of fact, I was prepared to read my letter of resignation tonight because I didn't think we were having another meeting prior to the override. So
Well,
if you would indulge me, I
I
will
will
do that at
indulge
this
you.
time. Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow board members. I am going to cry. I'm honored that I've been able to serve on this committee. There are compelling reasons that I will not be able to continue. When I stepped forward at the time, I thought I was filling in the remainder of a part-time portion of someone else's term. I did not realize it was going to be for a full 3 years, and I will not be able to serve out the final year of my, apparently what I'm on the books for. So please accept my resignation, effective June 30th. And I thank you all, and I wish you all continued success. Thank you.
Do you have anything to,
No, I didn't know I had to.
you don't have to if you,
Your term's up, mine's
Mary Ann
not,
just
so.
said I mean, it automatically fall off the table.
well, I actually have something to read. Who thought that I was gonna have something to read tonight? On June 30th, 2014, my term as on the Finance Committee will be complete. I want to thank each and every member of the Finance Committee for their hard work and commitment. It is your dedication that makes this group special. I would like to thank Frank Heath and Donna Brock, who encouraged me and brought me to the Finance Committee. For those members who were present when I arrived, I hope I've proven to you that I belong and that I was not a crackpot who came to further my personal agenda. At the beginning of my term as chairman, we set a goal of providing as much information as possible to town meeting voters. We succeeded. It is my hope that the Finance Committee utilizes our model for the warrant and report of the Finance Committee at town meetings in the future. What we have accomplished this year is amazing, and we should be proud of that fact. 3 former Finance Committee chairmen stood up at town meeting and gave high praise to our work. I would like to thank Derek Sullivan, Kimberly Shaverhood, and Michael McMillan. We are fortunate to have their bright leadership. They were easy to work with, and what they produced together exceeded my expectations. I would also like to thank the chairs of both the Selectmen and the School Committee. Their commitment to work together and with the Finance Committee was a welcome change. I cannot go without thanking a very critical, important person. Her role with the Finance Committee goes unnoticed for the most part, but without her, I know I would be lost. Kelly Barrasso has endured an entire year of dealing with me. We set a very busy schedule, and she not only kept us on track, but she managed to gather all the information we put out there and put it into a booklet, so she deserves our gratitude. I want to also take a minute to thank Marilyn Donahue. When I agreed to accept the chair, I said I would do it only if she served as vice chair. That's called coercion. The short
You
explanation
didn't even
is...
know about the whoopie pies then.
Yeah, the short explanation is we work well together. The longer explanation would take an entire meeting. She's tireless, intelligent, highly skilled, and is a true advocate of making Wareham a better place for all of us. I'll miss our early morning phone calls.
I won't.
Oh, that hurt. A wise man once told me, delegate to us and we will help you. That proved to be sage advice, so thank you, David Hurd. What I found is that it's much easier to be a chair when you have this group. Your hard work made me look good. I would be remiss without thanking my wife, who has put up with my mood swings and constant meetings, and my son and daughter, who have given up time with me. I want to leave you with a quote from General George Patton, for all you military people out there: always do more than is required of you. I hope you've learned as much from me as I have from you. So you have my respect and admiration. I'm a phone call away if you need my input or help, and I believe in this committee and look forward to seeing your work in the future. Be that as it may, we still have another meeting, so we got to schedule a date.
Oh, I mean, why can't we do it on the 21st? I mean, if not everybody,
Okay, who's not here on the 21st?
Just Joan.
Okay, just Joan. Okay, let's
There's
do it
no
on the
such thing
20th.
as just
We still have to have a meeting
And
in
I
June.
can say that because
I mean, we got
Joan
Robert
and I are
back there, you
partners
can,
in-
We have to have a
I'll just
meeting in
go
June
with
to elect officers.
So let's do the 21st and the 18th then, and
All right, the 21st, we'll meet again on May 21st. We'll have Derek here, we'll go over everything and be
And I'll
done with
Skype
that.
you.
I'm gonna warn them in advance about the two of you down there, so. And I have some information.
Don't want them in advance.
You're saying 2 meetings.
I like when she gets tough. I have copies of the audits going back to 2009. I have copies of several reports. I have discs. You probably have a lot of them. I have discs, I have paperwork, and I will bring that in for the next chairman, as well as the password to the FinCom account at wareham.maus. So that's about it. So we'll meet again on the 21st of May. Everybody good with that? I'll take a motion to adjourn and eat whoopie pies.
so moved.
All those in favor? Oh, I haven't got a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 700.
It's next Thursday, is that?
Is it true?